Here is the story of Diana, a 51-year-old book restorer. She was running out of time. Diana traced the faded gold leaf on the spine of a book that wasn't hers, in a shop that would soon belong to the bank. 51 years old. Her life smelled of old leather, drying glue, and the sweet, acidic scent of decaying paper. Her shop, the Gilded Page, was her sanctuary and her financial prison. She was a master artisan, a woman who could resurrect history with her fingertips, stitching together torn pages, coaxing warped leather back to life. But she couldn't fix her own balance sheet. That morning, the rain streaked the front window of her small shop, blurring the world outside. On her cluttered workbench, next to a 19th-century Bible, lay a bright red envelope. Final notice. The bank had been polite at first. Now they were just blunt. She owed $35,000. It was an impossible sum. The digital age had been cruel to her craft. People swiped on glass screens. They didn't pay hundreds of dollars to restore their great-grandmother's poetry book anymore. She was a relic, just like the items she repaired. She felt a quiet panic rising in her chest. She had dedicated her entire life to preserving other people's memories, and soon she would not even have a place to keep her own. When she decided to go to the estate sale on Saturday, it wasn't a hunt for opportunity. It was an escape. It was a chance to lose herself, for just a few hours, in the dusty remnants of another person's life before hers was packed into boxes. She didn't know it yet, but a $5 purchase was about to make that $35,000 debt look like pocket change. She had no idea that inside a moldy, water-damaged book, a piece of paper was waiting. A piece of paper worth $14 million. This is the story of how an ordinary woman, on the absolute brink of financial ruin, discovered a forgotten fortune hidden in plain sight. The rain was a cold drizzle that Saturday morning. The estate sale was crowded. People picked through chipped china, old vinyl records, and furniture draped in plastic tarps. Diana moved past the main tables, drawn, as always, to the shadows. Her eyes scanned for the things no one else wanted. In the back of the garage, under a workbench, was a simple cardboard box. The word "damaged" was written on the side in faded black marker. Inside was a pile of books, all warped and stained, smelling of mildew. They were worthless to most. But to Diana, they were a challenge. She pulled one out. The cover was dark green, almost black with age. There was no title. The spine was completely detached. It looked like it had been pulled from a river. But as she held it, she felt the weight, the dense, heavy feel of 19th-century rag paper. A man organizing the sale saw her. "The whole box is $5, lady," he said, eager to get rid of the junk. "Take 'em all." Diana paid the $5, clutching the single, destroyed green book to her chest as if it were a treasure. She drove back to her empty shop. That night, long after the streetlights flickered on, she locked the door and turned on her bright, articulated workbench lamp. This wasn't a job. This was meditation. She laid the book down. It looked hopeless. It was likely a simple book of poems, or a forgotten novel from the 1880s. Her first step was to separate what was left of the cover from the text block. She took her thinnest, sharpest scalpel. She began to gently slice away the end paper that glued the cover to the pages. Then she felt it. A stiffness. A resistance that shouldn't have been there. The cardboard of the book cover was supposed to be a single, solid piece, but her scalpel hit something layered. Something was inside the cover itself. Her heart, which had been heavy all day, gave a sudden, sharp kick. It was an old bookbinder's trick. Sometimes, binders would use waste paper to thicken the covers. Old manuscripts, letters, printed drafts. Usually, it was nothing. But sometimes, she held her breath. With the precision of a surgeon, she carefully peeled back the top layer of the bookboard. And there it was. It wasn't waste paper. It was a thick, formal document, folded perfectly to fit inside the cover, hidden from the world. It had been glued in place, deliberately. Her fingers trembled slightly as she extracted it. The paper was thick, high-quality linen. At the top, a magnificent, intricate engraving of an eagle. The words were bold and undeniable. The Pennsylvania Railroad Company. She smiled. A beautiful piece of history. Old stock certificates were collectible. They were decorative. Maybe it was worth $50. Maybe, on a good day, $100. It paid for the box of books. She looked at the elegant calligraphy, 100 shares. She looked at the date, written in ornate script, 1883. It was a lovely find. A small moment of joy in a terrible week. She carried it to the small, dusty office in the back of her shop and sat down at her old desktop computer. The machine whirred loudly as it booted up. She opened a search engine. Her fingers, stained with glue residue, typed slowly. What happened to Pennsylvania Railroad Company stock? The first link was a dry, historical summary. The company was once the largest railroad in the world. It had a long, complex history of mergers and acquisitions. Her eyes scanned the dense text. The company eventually merged with, became Penn Central Transportation. She kept reading. Penn Central filed for bankruptcy in 1970. Assets were acquired by Condrail, which was later divided between Norfolk Southern Corporation and CSX Corporation. It was a dead end. The company was gone. The stock was just a beautiful piece of paper. A flicker of disappointment, sharp and quick, passed through her. Of course, life wasn't a fairy tale. She closed the browser, ready to go home. But as she stood up, a different link at the bottom of the page caught her eye. It was a forum for antique stock collectors. The title of the post was, "Is my Penn RR stock worthless?" She clicked. She read through replies from hobbyists, arguing about dates and mergers. Then she saw a comment from a user named Legacy Tracker. Kioshin, most Penn Central certs are worthless. But if you hold an original, pre-1968 Pennsylvania Railroad Company certificate, it may be convertible. The conversion rate is complex. You must contact the transfer agent. Diana looked at the paper on her desk. 1883. It was pre-1968. She felt that strange kick in her chest again. This time it wasn't hope, it was a nervous, electric curiosity. What did convertible mean? The next Monday was agonizing. The bank had called again, leaving a cold, professional voicemail. She ignored it. She spent the entire morning researching. She found the name of the official transfer agent for Norfolk Southern, one of the successor companies. She felt ridiculous. She was a bookbinder, calling a Wall Street corporation about a piece of paper she found in a $5 junk book. She dialed the number, her voice shaky. A polite, bored-sounding representative answered. Diana explained her situation. She tried to sound professional. "I'm inquiring about an original certificate for the Pennsylvania Railroad Company, dated 1883. The man on the other end sighed. She could hear him typing. "Ma'am, those are usually just decorative." "I understand," Diana said, her voice firmer than she felt. "But I read that some original certificates may be convertible. Can you please check?" "Certificate number?" Diana read the number from the top corner. More typing. A long, heavy silence. "Okay," the man said, his tone shifting. "I see a note on that series. Can you confirm the name on the certificate?" She read the name, Elias B. Thorne. And the share amount, 100 shares. Another silence. This one was different. It was charged. "Ma'am," the representative said, his voice now crisp and alert. "You need to send this certificate to us immediately for verification. Do not mail it. Use a bonded courier. Insure it." "Insure it?" Diana asked. "For how much?" "I cannot give financial advice, ma'am," he said. "But I would insure it for a significant amount." What is it?" "If this certificate is authentic," the man said, "it was never cashed in. It has been accruing dividends and splitting for over 140 years. Deanna gripped the edge of her workbench. How many splits? I don't have the exact calculation, but it's substantial. After the mergers, 100 original shares of PRR converted to a large number of shares in both Norfolk Southern and CSX. And the dividends, ma'am, the unpaid dividends have been reinvested for decades. He paused. Do not lose that piece of paper. The next 2 weeks were a blur of adrenaline and disbelief. She paid over $300 money she didn't have to send the certificate via an armored courier. She sat in her shop, staring at the phone, unable to work. She jumped every time the bell on her shop door jingled. Then the call came. It was from a vice president at the transfer agent's office. Mrs. Miller. The woman's voice was warm. We have received your package. Our experts have authenticated the certificate. Deanna closed her eyes. It is 100% legitimate. Mrs. Miller. It belonged to an Elias Thorne, who died in 1884, intestate. The certificate was lost to history until you found it. So what does that mean? Diana whispered. It means, the woman said, that you are the legal holder of this asset. After a legal process to claim the unredeemed property, which we will guide you through, the holdings will be yours. Diana sank into her chair. Can you please, she begged, just tell me what it's worth? She heard the click of a keyboard. All right, the converted shares in Norfolk Southern, plus the converted shares in CSX, plus 140 years of compounded, reinvested dividends. As of the market close yesterday, the total value of this single certificate is... The woman paused. $14,287,943. Diana Miller did not make a sound. The smell of old paper and glue suddenly seemed suffocating. $14.2 million. She thought of the red envelope. She thought of the $35,000 debt. She thought of the man at the garage sale. The whole box is $5, lady. She started to laugh. It was a strange, choked sound that turned into a sob. She was no longer a relic. Today, Diana's life doesn't smell like decaying paper. It smells like the salt air from the terrace of her new home, overlooking the Pacific. She paid the $35,000 debt in a single wire transfer. Then she bought the entire building her little shop was in. She still keeps the gilded page. It's no longer a prison, it's her passion project. She endowed it, and it now functions as a non-profit foundation, teaching the art of bookbinding and restoration to young artisans, all expenses paid. She doesn't work the bench anymore. She spends her days traveling, searching garage sales and old libraries, not for value, but for joy. But the story isn't just about the money. It's about the discovery. Diana wasn't special. She wasn't a financial genius. She was a woman with a specific skill who was paying attention. How many of us have walked past a dusty box? How many of us have ignored something that looked worthless? The secret isn't in finding a lost stock certificate. The secret is in looking where no one else is looking. Your $14 million opportunity might not be in a book. It might be an old piece of furniture you can refinish and sell for 1,000% profit. It might be a domain name someone forgot to renew. It might be an old toy in your attic, or a skill you think is outdated, like Diana's that has a new hidden value in the digital world. Diana's story proves one thing. Fortune isn't just for the young and the fast. It's for the patient, the curious, the ones who are willing to look inside the cover. What are you walking past every single day? Your $14 million discovery is out there. It's just waiting for you to open the book.